broadcasting live from CGHC Newsroom, Manila.
Good day, CGHC students. It's a sunny day, October 17, 2022. I am Jasmine Reyes, your news anchor on CGHC News, serving you the best of all your health news. Today, we will bring to you all the excitement for this week. For the headlines, the known psychiatric health nurse Ida Jean Orlando Pelletier. Formulation of care plan, nursing process theory. 13 assumptions of theory and nursing paradigm. Application of the nursing process theory. Latest update of Ida Jean Orlando Pelletier. Miss Kimberly Marine will report the details about the renowned psychiatric health nurse, theorist, and researcher Ida Jean Orlando Pelletier. Miss Kimberly?
Thank you, Miss Justine. I am now live here in Flower Fifth Avenue Hospital, School of Nursing in New York, where Ida Jean got her nursing diploma. And so, Ida Jean Orlando Pelletier, a first-generation Irish-American, was born in 1926. She earned her nursing diploma here in New York Medical College, Flower Fifth Avenue Hospital, School of Nursing. Her Bachelor of Science in Nursing concentration in Public Health in 1951 from St. John's University, Brooklyn, and in 1954, her MA in Mental Health Nursing from Teachers College, Columbia University, New York. And she also worked intermittently and occasionally concurrently as a staff nurse in OB, MS, and ER, a general hospital supervisor as well as an assistant director and a teacher of many courses while also pursuing her education. She also resided in the Boston region and was married to Robert Pelletier in 1961. Orlando published her conclusions about the nursing process as a general theoretical framework for the nurse-patient relationship in the Dynamic Nurse-Patient Relationship, published in 1961. The American Journal of Nursing headlined its August 1963 issue with an editorial, "The Patient, a Partner in His Care." And a discussion of Orlando's book was a centerpiece of this issue. This classic book has been translated in 12 languages and currently has been reissued by the National League of Nursing. She was the first psychiatric nurse in the United States to obtain an applied research grant from NIMH. This allowed her to conduct an evaluative study of the discipline and teaching of the nursing process. Orlando published the research result in the Discipline and Teaching of Nursing Process in 1972. The teaching of the nursing process continued in many Massachusetts educational institutions as well as in institutions in other states and countries. Orlando was one of the several nurses recognized as a nursing living legend by the Massachusetts Registered Nurse Association at an awards dinner in Benford, and she was extremely pleased to be honored. She passed away November 28, 2007 at age of 81 in Mount Auburn Hospital, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Again, this is Kimberly Nicole Marine reporting live in New York. Back to you, Miss Gislaine.
Thank you, Miss Kimberly Marine. Ida Jean was truly one of a kind. Next news is the formulation of nursing care, nursing processing theory. Miss Revi Gueroca has this report.
Thank you, Jasmine. This is Revi Gueroca reporting live in Massachusetts Nurses Association. According to Andrew, in 1989, Orlando analyzed 2,000 nurse-patient interactions to evaluate what was considered good and bad nursing practice. Consequently, her model of effective nursing practice evolved from the analysis. Orlando's model was developed after being dissatisfied with the views that the nurses were motivated to act as a result of orders from physicians, institutional policies, and other reasons, none of which related to nursing action based on meeting patients' needs. Thus, her model was one of the first to acknowledge patient participation in planning care and patient feedback. It was called deliberative nursing process theory. The theory stresses the reciprocal relationship between patient and nurse. What the nurse and the patient say and do affects them both. She views nursing's professional function as finding out and meeting the patient's immediate need for help. She also described her model as revolving around the five major interrelated concepts, namely the function of professional nursing, presenting behavior, immediate reaction, nursing process discipline, and improvement. The function of professional nursing is the organizing principle. Presenting behavior is the patient's problematic situation. The immediate reaction is the internal response. The nursing process discipline is the investigation to the patient's needs. And lastly, improvement is the resolution to the patient's situation. The deliberative nursing process has 5 stages: assessment, diagnosis, planning, implementation, and evaluation. Assessment. In the assessment stage, the nurse completes a holistic assessment of the patient's needs. This is done without taking the reason for the encounter into consideration. The nurse uses a nursing framework to collect both subjective and objective data about the patient. Diagnosis. The diagnosis stage uses the nurse's clinical judgment about health problems. The diagnosis can then be confirmed using links to defining characteristics, related factors, and risk factors found in the patient's assessment. Planning. The planning stage addresses each of the problems identified in the diagnosis. Each problem is given a specific goal or outcome, and each goal or outcome is given nursing interventions to help achieve the goal. By the end of this stage, the nurse will give a nursing care plan. Implementation. In the implementation stage, the nurse begins using the nursing care plan. Evaluation. Finally, in the evaluation stage, the nurse looks at the patient's progress toward the goals set in the nursing care plan. Changes can be made to the nursing care plan based on how well or poorly the patient is progressing toward the goals. If any new problems are identified in the evaluation stage, they can be addressed and the process starts over again for those specific problems. Nurses use standard nursing process in Orlando's nursing process discipline theory to produce positive outcomes or patient improvement. Orlando's key focus was the definition of the function of nursing. The model provides a framework for nursing, but her theory does not exclude nurses from using other nursing theories while caring for patients. Overall, she proposed that patients have their own meanings and interpretations of situations, and therefore, nurses must validate their inferences and analyses with patients before concluding. And the deliberative nursing process helps nurses achieve more successful patient outcomes such as fall reduction. Orlando's theory remains a most effective practice theory that is especially helpful to new nurses as they begin their practice. Again, this is Revi Jaroka. Back to you, Jasdine.
Thank you, Miss Revi Giroka. The theory was truly a phenomenal advancement for nursing. Next news is the assumptions of theory and nursing paradigm. Miss Daniela Gutierrez has this report.
Thank you, Jaslyn. This is Daniela reporting live in Yale University School of Nursing, where Orlando developed her theory from a study conducted in the university and integrated mental health concepts into a basic nursing curriculum. Ida Jean Orlando's model of nursing makes the following assumption. First is when patients cannot cope with their needs on their own, they become distressed by feeling helpless. Second, in its professional character, nursing adds to the distress of the patient. Number 3, patients are unique and individual in how they respond. 4, nursing offers mothering and nursing analogous to an adult who mothers and nurtures a child. 5th, the practice of nursing deals with people, the environment, and health. 6. Patients need help communicating their needs. They are uncomfortable and ambivalent about their dependency needs. 7. People can be secretive or explicit about their needs, perception, thoughts, and feelings. Number 8. The nurse-patient situation is dynamic. Actions and reactions are influenced by both the nurse and the patient. Number 9. People attach meanings to situations and actions that aren't apparent to others. 10. Patients enter into nursing care through medicine. 11. The patient cannot state the nature and meaning of his or her distress without the nurse's help or him or her first having established a helpful relationship with the patient. 12. Any observation shared and observed with the patient is immediately helpful in ascertaining and meeting his or her need or finding out that he or she is not in need at that time. 13. And last, nurses are concerned with the needs of the patient who is unable to meet on his or her own. For nursing meta-paradigm, it consists of 4 concepts: person, environment, health, and nursing. Of the 4 concepts, Ida Jean Orlando only included 3 in her theory of nursing process discipline: person, health, and nursing. First is the human being. Orlando uses the concept of human as she emphasizes individuality and the dynamic nature of the nurse-patient relationship. For her, humans in need are the focus of nursing practice. Health. In Orlando's theory, health is replaced by a sense of helplessness as the initiator of a necessity for nursing. She stated that nursing deals with individuals who require help. Environment. Orlando completely disregarded the environment in her theory, only focusing on the patient's immediate need, chiefly the relationship and action between the nurse and the patient, only an individual in her theory. No families or groups were mentioned. The effect that the environment could have on patient was never mentioned in Orlando's theory. Last is nursing. Orlando speaks of nursing as unique and independent in its concerns for an individual's need for help in an immediate situation. The efforts to meet the individual's need for help are carried out in an interactive situation and in a disciplined manner that requires proper training. Thank you, Jaslyn. This is Daniela reporting live in Yale University School of Nursing, where Orlando developed her theory from a study conducted in the university and integrated mental health concepts into a basic nursing curriculum.
Thank you, Miss Daniela Gutierrez. I am sure our viewers comprehend the theory of Orlando. Before we proceed to our next news, let us have a short break.
It's time once again for Professor QB's Fun Time. These are the silliest, dumbest, and funniest jokes on the internet.
Here is Professor QB.
At the emergency room, they ask name, then date of birth, and then nearest relative. The patient answered, right next door to me. A guy goes to the doctor and the doctor says, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you only have 10 to live. The guy says, I have 10 what? 10 years? 10 weeks? 10 months? What? The doctor says, 9. A man runs into the hospital and says, I think my wife's in labor. She keeps yelling, don't, won't, shouldn't. The doctor said, "Oh, don't worry, she's just having contractions." A lifetime of smoking finally caught up with one man who had a mild heart attack. He was rushed to the emergency room and the doctors asked him a series of questions. One of the questions was, "Do you smoke?" And he said, "No, I quit." The doctor said, "That's good. When did you quit?" He said, "A few minutes ago when I had this heart attack." This is a true story. When a patient was wheeled into an emergency room, the nurse on duty said, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 representing no pain at all and 10 representing the most excruciating pain you've ever felt, what would you say your level of pain is right now? The patient shook her head and said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not good with math."
We'll see you next time.
Now we are back. Next news is the application of the theory to nursing. Mr. John Carlo Mangune has this report.
Thank you, Jaslyn. This is Giancarlo Mangune, reporting live in Chinese General Hospital. Now, the Chinese General Hospital shared a case study related to Orlando's theory. It was about a patient named Jay. Mrs. J is described as agitated while sitting in the waiting surgery for her carpal tunnel. I was told that Mrs. J is clutching the blankets, eyes wide and lips pressed firmly together. That's why a nurse comes to her bedside and asks if there's anything that she can do to make Miss J feel more comfortable. Miss J responds with, "Nothing, I'm fine." And for this kind of scenario, the nurse told me that they use the deliberate nursing process theory. First, what is the patient behavior? What the nurse has heard as well as seen would mean that the nurse attempted to meet Mrs. J's needs. And what are her needs? Mrs. J's needs acknowledgement of the feeling out of control, acknowledgement of the fear of the unknown, education on what is going to happen to each step of the way, and lastly, participation in her care. Now, second is the nurse reaction. The nurse replies this to Mrs. J. "I understand how frightening it can be to be the patient in the bed, letting others do things to you. I want you to know that it is okay to be afraid, but I'm going to be with you the whole time. Is that how you are feeling?" And Mrs. J responds with, "Maybe a little." "I'd like to tell you more about what we're going to do from here. Is that alright with you?" The nurse responds. Third is the nurse's actions. Allow Miss J to join in a dialogue about the surgery, sequence of events, and what to expect. Mrs. J is invited to participate in her care. Validation is given to her feelings as well as input on her ongoing anxiety or any pain that she may be experiencing. With each step or intervention, her participation is actively pursued and surgery proceeds with her participation. Fourth is improvement or resolution. Mrs. J is now sitting up relaxed, feeling satisfied that she has overcome an anxiety that she had been experiencing for days. When she was asked, "How was your experience?" she responds with, "Great, a lot easier than I thought it would be. I'll be back in 6 weeks to have my other hand done." Now the fifth is assessment. Classifying under direct data, perception of the nurse includes the anxiety exhibited by Mrs. J awaiting surgery for her carpal tunnel. The sixth is nursing diagnosis or patient problems. This is the acknowledgement of anxiety by Mrs. J. The seventh is planning. Nurse starts to participate in care of Mrs. J. The nurse gives validation to Mrs. J's feelings of anxiety or any pain that she may be experiencing. And the eighth is implementation. The nurse explained each step of the intervention about the surgery for carpal tunnel to Mrs. J, stays with the client and offers reassurance of safety and security. Encourage the client to explore underlying feelings, teach relaxation techniques, and administer tranquilizing medication. And lastly, evaluation. Mrs. J is relaxed, feeling satisfied that she has overcome anxiety. The nurse evaluates the effectiveness of nursing action as evidenced by relief from anxiety. Orlando's theory is definitely an effective practice theory that is essentially helpful to nurses to give responses to distressed clients. Again, this is Giancarlo Mangune. Back to you, Jaslyn.
Thank you, Mr. Giancarlo Mangune. This is truly helpful to our future nurses. The last news for today, this is the latest updates about Ida Jean Orlando. Orlando's latest professional public appearance was in April 2006. Her theory remains an effective practice theory that is especially helpful to new nurses as they begin their practice. Your daily news for healthcare? Reliable, up-to-date, and scientifically based news. I am Jazin Reyes.
I am Kimberly Nicole Marin.
I am Ravi Jaroka. I am Daniela.
And I am Giancarlo Mangune.
And this is CGHC
Your
News,
health
your health
companion.
companions.